All right, so this is the answer key for worksheet 10.3. This is the second worksheet. All right, we're going to start by distributing the square root of 6 through to both parts. And so when we do that, this is an inside-outside number, so we've got 2 on the outside, 6 still on the inside. Since 6 and 2 are both inside numbers, we're going to go ahead and multiply them and get 12 on the inside. Now, 6 will break down to 2 and 3, but nothing will pair up and move out. On the 12, we got 3 and 4. And then 2 and 2. So 2's pair up and move out. So I have 2 root 6 plus 2's moved out, so 2 on the outside, and then we have this 3 left over on the inside, root 3. I cannot add those up because those are not same square roots. Number 2, we're going to distribute here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and take the 5 times the 3 and get square root of 15. And then I'm going to multiply the square root of 5 and get 3 root 25. Now, the square root of 25 is just 5, so really this is just saying 3 times 5, which is 15. Now, the square root of 15 breaks down to 3 and 5, but nothing will pair up and move out, so I'm going to leave it square root of 15 plus 15. All right, number 3. I'm going to go ahead and distribute this to both parts, so I get negative 12 root 9 minus 12 root 3. Okay, again, multiply outside with outside and inside with inside. Now, the square root of 9 is just 3, so really this is just saying negative 12 times 3, which is negative 36, and then minus 12 root 3. And that's going to be your answer there. Okay, number 4. So we're doing the same thing here. We're going to go ahead and distribute. So I get negative 10 root 3 minus 8 root 6. Now the square root of 3 and square root of 6 can't be reduced, so this is going to be your answer. Okay, on this next one, all right, we're going to FOIL on this. So I'm going to go ahead and take negative 3 times 2 and get negative 6. Negative 3 times root 3, so negative 3 root 3. Now I'm going to distribute this negative 2 root 3. So I end up with negative 4 root 3 and then negative 2 root 3. Okay, square root of 3's don't reduce. However, I can go ahead and combine all of these together because they're all square roots of 3. So I have negative 3, negative 4, and negative 2, which will give me negative 9 root 3. And then I have still this negative 6 hanging out front. And that's going to be my answer. Okay, number 6. Again, we're going to go ahead and FOIL this out. So I'm going to take 4 root 5 times the negative root 5 and get negative 4 root 25 plus 8 root 15 minus the square root of 15 and then plus 2 root 9. All right, so here, this is just saying negative 4 times 5, which would be negative 20. Same thing on the back side here. This is saying 2 times 3, which would be 6. Now, I can go ahead and combine my square roots of 15 because 15 will break down to 3's and 5's, but nothing will pair up and move out. So when I put those two together, remember there's a 1 here in front, so 8 minus 1 is 7 root 15. And then I'm going to go ahead and combine the negative 20 and the 6. And have a negative 14. Now, it doesn't matter if you put the negative 14 in front or back. And that's going to be my answer. All right, so number 7, we're going to go ahead and distribute here. So I'm going to get 10 root 12 minus 10 root 15 plus 6 root 20 minus 6 root 25. All right, so now let's go through and break down the 12. Again, we'll go to 3 and 4, 2 and 2, so 2's pair up and move out. So I have 20 root 3 here. 15 will break to 3 and 5. Nothing will pair up and move out, so I'm going to leave that. All right, on 20, I've got 4 and 5, and then this will break down to 2 and 2, so 2's pair up and move out. So I have 12 on the outside, 5 left over on the inside. And then on this guy, this is saying negative 6 times 5, or negative 30. Now, when I look at all of these, all of my square roots are different, and then this one doesn't even have one. I can't combine any of that. So this right here is going to be my solution. Okay, on the next one here, so I'm going to go ahead and distribute and get -5 root 25 plus 3 root 15 minus 10 root 15 and then plus 6 root 9. All right, so now I've got -5 times 5 will be -25. 15s won't break down, but I can go ahead and combine those. And then on this back side here, I've got 6 times 3 or 18. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put together my -25 and my 18. And when I do that, I'm going to get -7. Now I'm going to combine my square roots right here. And when I combine those, 3 minus 7 would be, or sorry, 3 minus 10 would be -7 root 15. And that's going to be my answer. Okay, number 9. All right, so this is just addition and subtraction. I can put together my square roots of 5, and in this case, they're actually going to just cancel out, so I end up with -2 root 3 on this one. Okay, on the next one here, all right, let's go ahead and do some breaking down. I'm going to break down this to 3 and 4, 2 and 2, so 2's are going to pair up and move out, so I have a -4 with a 3 left over on the inside. Now I have minus square root 3 because that's not going to go anywhere. My 8 will go to 2 and 4. And then this will go to 2 and 2. So 2's pair up and move out. So I have a -4. And then I have a root 2 left over. So now I'm going to go ahead and combine like square roots. So I'm going to end up with -5 root 3 minus 4 root 2 for a final answer here. All right, so on this guy, we're going to break it down. So I know like a 4 would go into it, 2 would go into it. So you could go either route there. I'm going to go ahead and go 4. So I've got 4 and 32. Okay. Now, when I break up my 32, it's going to go to 4 and 8. So really, I already have a pair of 4's here. So I'm not going to break those down any farther. I'm just going to leave it as a 4. But if you did 2's and 2's, that's fine. 2 times 2 is still 4. And then on the 8 here, I'm going to get 2 times 4 and then 2 times 2. So the 2's will also pair up and move out. So I'm going to take 4 times 2 and get 8 root, and then this guy's left over, 2. So 8 root 2. Okay, number 12, I'm going to break down this to 4 and 5, and then that'll go to 2 and 2. So 2's pair up and move out. So I have 16 root 5 as my final answer there. Okay, next page. All right, so 216. I'm just going to start with 2's on this one. So I know 2 and 108. So if I do 2 here, I'm going to get 2 and 54. And I'm just going to kind of stick with the 2 here. So 2 and 27. And then that will go to 3 and 9, which will go to 3 and 3. So now let's see here. I got a 2. And a 3 that will pair up and move out. So I'm going to have a 6 on the outside. Now this 2 and 3 didn't have any buddies, so it's going to be a 6 on the inside. X to the third is 3 x's, so 2 of them pair up and move out with 1 x left over on the inside. And then my y to the fourth, I'm going to have 2 pairs on the outside. And that's going to be my final answer. Okay, so on this one, I'm going to go ahead and divide by 5, or you could do 25. So if I do, it would be 5 and 35, and then that'll break down to 5 and 7. So the 5's pair up and move out. So I have a 10 on the outside. I have a 7 on the inside. Now this x, there's only one of them, so I'm just going to leave it on the inside because nothing will pair up and move out. Y squared, there's 2 y's that are going to move out. None left over on the inside. So that's my final answer. Okay, so on this one, we can go ahead and do some reduce. So we can take the 3 and the 15 and reduce that. So this would go to a 1 and a 5. So as of right now, we technically have 3 times the square root of 1, but really square root of 1 is just 1. So really we just have a 3 on top. And then on the bottom, we've got 4 root 5 still. Okay, so now I need to multiply by the square root on the bottom, right? No square roots are allowed to be on the bottom. So I'm going to get 3 root 5 on top. And on the bottom, these will pair up and move out. Well, there's already 4 out there, so really it's just saying 4 times 5, or 20. Now the 3 and 20 on the outside can't reduce, so this right here is your final answer. Okay, so on this guy, when I look at him, I know the x's will cancel. So I'm going to take this x out and get an x squared. Same thing with the y's. I'm going to take that out and get a y left over. And then on the top here, the square root of 4, I already know that that's 2. So really on the top, I just have 2 times 5, or 10 on top. Okay, on the bottom, technically this x squared would move out, so I'll have an x on the outside, and then I have a 5 and a y left over on the inside. So I am going to multiply by the square root of 5y on top and bottom. Okay, so I have 10 root 5y on top. On the bottom, these are going to pair up and move out. So I've got a 5, an x, and a y all on the bottom. Now, in this case, when I look to the outside, I can reduce this 10 and 5. So I need to go ahead and do that and call it 2 and 1. So my final answer here will be 2 root 5y over xy. And that's my final answer. Okay, factor. So on this guy, this is kind of a hot mess. It's not a quadratic, so let's go ahead and just pull a GCF out. So I'm going to pull out a 5, and then I'm going to pull out 3 x's. Again, you're always pulling your smallest one out there. So 35 divided by 5 is 7 with 3 x's left over. 10 divided by 5 is 2. It has 2 x's and a y left. 15 divided by 5 is 3, and all 3 x's came out there. And that's my final answer on that one. All right, so on this one, factors of negative 24 that add up to 5 would be 3 and 8, and then I'm going to make that 3 negative. So I've got x minus 3 and x plus 8. Okay, number 9. All right, starting my list here because I do have a number out front and there's no GCF. So I've got 1 times 5, 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, and 4 times 6. All right, so I'm looking for some sort of combination here that will get me a 14. So let's take a look here at 1 times 6 would be 6, and 5 times 20 would be, or 5 times 4 would be 20. And if I make this guy negative, that's going to get me that positive 14 that I'm looking for here. All right, so my front numbers here are 1, 5. So I've got 1m, 5m. On the back side, I've got a 4, 6. Now that 1 times 6, I want that guy to be the negative. And then this 20 here in the middle, I want that to be positive. And that's going to be your final answer there. Okay, on this guy, this is a difference of squares. So again, can you square root? Yes. Do you have subtraction? Yes. And can you square root? Yes. So then break it down to 3m. And 3m, you have a minus and a plus. And then on the back side there, that 16n squared is going to go to 4n and 4n. Okay, so this is asking for slope-intercept form, so y equals mx plus b. Remember, that's where we're going to finish. So down here, I have a point and a slope. I'm going to start in point-slope form. So just as a review, remember point-slope is y minus y1, mx minus x1. So I've got y minus 5 equals negative 3/2 x minus negative 4, which is just really going to become a plus 4. So now I'm going to go ahead and distribute that negative 3/2 through and get y minus 5 equals negative 3/2 x. And then I'm going to get a negative 6 when I multiply 3/2 and 4 together. Now I'm going to go ahead and add that 5 over. So my final answer here will be y equals negative 3/2 x minus 1. And last problem here, so we'll see slope-intercept. Okay, and it's perpendicular. Okay, so very similar to the last problem. The only thing we've got to do here is come up with our perpendicular slope. So remember, we talked about perpendicular having opposite reciprocal slopes. So opposite reciprocal, it's a positive 1/9, so it's going to be negative, and then flip it, and it's become 9/1 or just 9. Now, once you do that, remember, we're just throwing the rest of that out. So now you have a point and a slope. So again, start in your point slope form. So I'm going to get y minus -4. My slope is -9, x minus 1. So that's going to become plus. I'm going to go ahead and distribute. So I get y plus 4, -9x plus 9, and then I'm going to subtract the 4 off. So I'm going to get y equals -9x plus 5. And that's going to be my final answer. All right, and that concludes this answer key.